Oh.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 125. Man, this is one packed episode. We talk about sets, supersets, rep ranges, drop sets, you name it, anything you want to know about muscle hypertrophy growth, the best way to structure your programs. But we also get into what is our top 3 lifts per each muscle group. So the favorites for both Ben and I go through and share our different experiences with, what gives you the best range of motion versus biggest hit in the muscle and the stretch you get out there. So a lot to talk about in this episode, how to maximize your training program and your gains. Tune in this week for one great episode. And again, we'll catch you again next week, but same time, same place. Later.
You know that there has had to have been some sacrifice, whether it's time or nutrition or whatever it is.
Recording of myself talking about having a relationship with my chest.
I'm Ben Canning.
I'm Dave Kennedy.
And this is Hacking Health Podcast. Yo, welcome back to Hacking Your Health Podcast with Ben and Dave. What's up, dude?
Yo, what's up, everybody? How's it going? It was it's been a pretty good week so far. It's just starting. I mean, it's Monday because we decided not to do the podcast.
So far, this week, it's literally noon your time.
It is literally
like, so far, so good. The week is
so far, so good. I will tell you. So, I started the cut, a week and a half ago, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I started off at my top weight was 253, and I'm down to 241 today. So I've lost like 10 or 12 pounds, which you would think would be not desirable. However, you have to realize, like, and this is just kind of like a tidbit for folks that go into cutting and bulking and things like that, or surplus and deficit, as we like to refer to them here, because cutting and bulking is a bad interpretation. But when you're when you're in a surplus, you're eating just shit tons of food. So you get all this food in your digestive tract, and you probably are carrying 5 pounds, or if not more, of extra food that's in your body at a given time. And then when you go in a deficit, that depletes very quickly. So, it was like 3 days on the cut and I had lost like 8 pounds. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. What's going on here? This isn't normal. So
also, in addition to that, like, just to add so people actually know what's going on, the amount of water that is held through the food as well. So it's not just the actual food. Like, if you think about carb sources as sponges, which makes sense if you think about carbs in general, each gram of carb that you consume can hold up to 4 milliliters of water. So essentially, if you have 200 grams of carbs in your body, that could be 1,000 grams total with the grams of carbs and the water as well. So all of that taken into consideration, the first sort of week, especially transitioning from where we were at the height of the food to where we're at now, like, that's just sort of sheds all that. But you do notice it straight away, like, yes, okay, it is food, but your body will change in line with that too, which is always cool.
Yep, exactly. And, for me, what I've found, so listen, and this is going to be a little bit of an explanation here, but, when I first started with you, Ben, I was at 2,000 calories, I think?
Yes, 2,200, I think, but yes.
Yeah, so the lowest I've really ever gone has been like 2,000 calories, right? And, as I've added more muscle mass, and again, we've talked about this a little bit before in some previous podcasts, but the more mass you have, regardless if that's fat or muscle or whatever, or how tall you are, the more expenditure of energy you have, which means that your calories would be different. It's interesting. They did a study on people that twitch, that kind of are continuously bouncing around. Like my son, just always bouncing, like bouncing. That's all he does all day long is bounce. And, what they found is people that shake their leg continuously. So their legs are continuously doing this over and over and over again, burn like an additional 1,000 calories, if not more, a day than people that didn't. And you can see like the difference in weight types and body fat composition, things like that, just by these little micro movements that were occurring. So the more you're active, the more you move, the more you have to move, the more calories you burn, right? It makes sense from just the basic, thermodynamics perspective. So your body has to convert things to energy. And the more it has to move those muscles, or the larger you are as a person, again, heavily obese or heavily skinny or whatever, the least amount of calories, more calories you do. So as you get, so I was at 4,000 calories a day, which, I was getting sick and tired of eating 4,000 calories a day. I was, when you have done a good bulk, when you just hate food, like your relationship with food is toxic. And you're like, I hate everything about this. Like, I don't even want cake. I don't want Oreos. I don't want Skyline. I don't want anything. I hate all food. So now I'm at a reasonable rate, but when I first started this, let's just say 2,000 calories. I'm now at 3,000 calories and dropping pounds. So I've increased my muscle mass size so much that I'm burning an additional 1,000 calories roughly, a day than I did previously before. So in order to maintain that muscle mass and i.e. build, and there's also a lot of good data studies on, surplus versus deficit. So if you're in a surplus or maintenance, you're going to maintain or have the most ideal situation to gain muscle mass, the most amount of muscle mass. Whereas when you're in a slight deficit, you still can gain muscle, but it's not as much. But you shouldn't lose it, especially if you're padding that with enough, essential amino acids, branched chain amino acids, i.e. protein, to be able to actually leverage that. So right now I'm on the cut, which is 3,000 calories, which is so much easier. So Aaron's like, "Are you on a cut? Because like you're sitting there like eating like a whole bunch of food." I'm like, "Yeah, I still got to eat 3,000 calories. Like it's more than most people eat on a daily basis, but I have to do that in order to still maintain." The weight that I'm doing. But I'll tell you, I definitely feel leaner. So I have these t-shirts that are called Tailored Athlete, which I really like a lot. If you're ever interested, they're a great brand. They're very like tight form fitting around your shoulders and chest. And then they open up a little bit around, your waist, but they're very much tailored towards muscular figures. And I was definitely starting to get pretty tight in those Tailored Athlete shirts, and I've noticed them being a little bit less on the waist again, which is great. So starting to see more visible abs. Definitely noticing my energy levels are not as crazy as when I was on the 4,000 calories, but still within manageable levels. So overall, cut has been going very good. And I will say I'm still pissed because today at Orange Theory is a really bad day actually for me.
Somebody won the imaginary competition.
Someone won the imaginary competition today, but it wasn't because of anything other than my shoulders. My shoulders still jack for some reason. So there was a guy there who was like 20 years old, big meaty dude, and he goes and picks up the 50s. I'm like, oh, 50s. I go get the 70s to do incline chest press, which I can do 125 to 150 pound chest presses when I'm normally there. I went to go put those 70s up. Man, it must have been like I was lifting 300 pounds. Like I couldn't, my left shoulder is jacked to where it's not strong enough yet to get those up again. And I was like, oh no. So I had to go down to 35s.
Oh,
and I was doing chest presses with 35s. And this guy's looking at me like, yeah, you suck. I'm like, oh, for crying out loud. Like, this is the worst day of my life. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start, beating the hell out of my shoulder. I'm going to start like overloading it with like 100 pounds, 150 pounds doing improper form, just so I can teach it a lesson that it should never hurt itself again. So obviously not advocating that, but
right. So, but apart from Orange Theory, everything's going well.
Yeah, everything's great. How about yourself, man?
Good. Two main things that I want to talk about. Number one, the fact that you're still not doing ice baths and how much more anabolic I am because of it.
Listen, if we're going to be talking about ice baths, I'm not coming on this podcast anymore. I'm boycotting this podcast. All right. This is enough.
I will just say, and I'm not going to be the one person that's like, ice baths changed my life and all that shit. But I definitely have noticed improvements in terms of like my energy throughout the day, my ability to focus on like just the feel good factor after it. My goal at the minute is to do them every other day. I did Saturday, Sunday, because I missed Friday because I had to change the water, which is a whole different story for a different time. But this morning, I obviously wasn't due to do it, but it was cold as shit outside this morning. I was like, I'm just going to check the temperature of the ice bath. And it was 1 degree Celsius, which is like 33 degrees Fahrenheit. And there was just this little like thinnest layer of ice on the top. And I was like, I can't not do it. Like, I can't not do it. So I get in this morning. It was the best one yet. And I will say this as well. And this triggered me a little bit. I posted yesterday on Instagram my ice bath, and someone commented under it saying, does it get any easier? And I was like, you're missing the entire point. This is not something that's meant to be easy. I'm specifically doing this because it is not something that is easy to do. So there you go. That's my 2 cents on ice baths. I'll not mention it for the rest of the podcast. The second thing is,
I'm glad, because I was literally going to just close the, oh my God, technical difficulties, everybody. I'm gone.
The internet's off in Ohio. Zoom.
Yeah.
Whole Foods. It's the 8th, so we're 8 days into Whole Foods. I can definitely, what's that?
It is a Subway sandwich, all Whole Foods. It's a multigrain bread with a whole bunch of meat. It's called the Monster. And then I did the Monster plus double meat as well. It's like 87 grams of protein.
I'm going to say that I don't necessarily know if that's specifically Whole Foods.
What are you talking about? It's multigrain bread and just meat. Look at this. Look at this. It is meat and spinach, and
it does look delicious, to be fair. Right, but anyway, I'll say this. A couple of things I'm struggling with, and I'll tell you this because I've just spoken about it on the weekly call. Number one, flavor with things. So that's something I need to address. Like seasonings and stuff like that are obviously a bit of a challenge. I've been leaning heavily on salt and chili flakes because I feel like they tick the box. Was going to make my own hot sauce, but I figured that that's maybe a little bit too far, so I'm just going to get somebody else to do it. The second thing I'm struggling with is like in between meals, like snacks essentially. So I've been pretty much just having 3 meals a day, which has been fine, but like I'm struggling with that, like wanting something midday. Other than that, I feel really good. Digestion's been absolutely fine. Mental clarity, like I feel good on the whole. So anybody who is thinking about doing whole foods, whether it is to the extent that I'm doing it or just eating more whole foods and less ultra processed foods, I would definitely recommend doing it because so far the additional effort is definitely worth the benefit at the other side. And when I'm saying effort, it's just about forward thinking and actually planning. It's not convenient by any stretch of the imagination, but you just need to plan your days and weeks ahead of time.
You know, I've been getting really good at the meal prepping. So I go once a week, you know, to the grocery store, which by the way, the prices are freaking ridiculous to eat healthy. It is insane. I rang up my bill for the week and it was like $400. I'm like, oh my God, what did I get? I literally got chicken and some beef. And I was like, what the hell? What's going on here? Anyway, and some eggs. But anyways, you know, what Ben is referencing on the whole foods is that the more whole foods you can eat, the longer you will feel full because your body's going to take time to digest it, but it's also nutrient rich. You know, if you look at a lot of the foods that we eat today, you know, they're heavily processed, which, you know, is showing a lot of data around and proven data around increased cause of you know, obesity, mortality, including cardiovascular risk, cancer causes, all this other stuff. So processed foods, overly processed foods are absolutely horrible for you in every way, shape, or form. They're engineered to basically not keep us full and fill us full a ton of calories that our body just isn't used to handling. It has a lot to do with the amount of sugars and the, you know, fiber interactions that go there. And I'm not saying that you couldn't just eat those all day and still have a good physique if you keep within your calorie macros. But again, are you trying to, you know, heal your body with, you know, shit, or heal your body with quality foods that your body naturally knows how to use and then to promote a good, healthy lifestyle? So you kind of, you know, a lot of people say, you know, your abs are created in the kitchen, which is, you know, what you're eating and how you're eating things. So I've definitely noticed. So this is, you know, like basically day 7 on this cut where I've been eating whole foods. I did not eat the box of raisinets, even though technically I think that is a whole food. I mean, it says whole raisins in there, and it has milk chocolate, which are 2 ingredients, milk and cocoa. I don't know why it's doing balloons right there. Don't know why it's doing balloons right there, but it definitely brought the whole point back. If you aren't watching the stream, a bunch of balloons just came up on my screen. Oh God, what is going on today? Anyways, so with the whole foods piece of it, you know, the better you can eat from that side, the more full you're going to feel for a longer period of time. And I'll tell you, the last 7 days, I felt much healthier, much happier, much more consistent energy. And I do feel like my inflammation has gone down substantially in my body as far as my ability to recover and be able to kind of hit the ground running the next day. So I'm noticing a huge impact just by really eating whole foods. This weekend, Whole Foods, you know, I cooked pretty much this whole weekend. And what I was leading on about going to the grocery store is I have this thing called the Dreo, which it's relatively inexpensive. I can't believe they, you know, I think it's like $200 or $300, which I don't understand is still a lot for folks. But they have this, it's called the Combi Fryer, the Chef Maker. Yeah, it's $279. Listen, this is the best thing you can buy for $250 or $270 in the market. It is an automatic air fryer, but it also does like sous videing and AI based cooking. And I literally will take a piece, two chicken breasts, I'll throw it in there and I'll put a probe in there and I hit go. And then 15 minutes later, it's done, you know, and it's perfect. Same thing for steaks. If you want a medium rare steak, sous vide style, where it steams, it brings up the temperature via steam. It takes about 2 hours to cook, but it'll be a perfect, you know, steak for you. I've had the best steaks on there. Air fryer. So obviously you want to do fries or veggies, things like that. So what I usually do is I'll throw the chicken in there with the rice and the veggies and just have it cook. and it just brings up the temperature and it works all within one. And then I have my portion sizes already matched out and mapped out for my macros. It's like the easiest thing to food prep, and you could do 6 chicken breasts at a time if you want to, so you can prep for the rest of the weekend. But since it only takes 15 minutes and all I gotta do is throw it in there, I just literally season it with some Lowry salt or some salt, pepper, garlic, and I throw it in there, throw some hot sauce on it, and I'm good to go. So it is easy to prep your food if you have the right tools to make it as easy as possible, right? And obviously you don't need to do that. You can do it on a pan or whatever.
Yes. Well, I will say is like I haven't been prepping food, and one benefit that I have is the kitchen's not on the other side of that wall, but on the other side of the wall. It's on the other side of that wall. What I have been doing like for during the day is like buying pre-cooked chicken breasts. So like all I need to do is put it in the pan, add some veg, whatever it is with it. I mean, it's literally takes me 7 minutes to make. So that has been my sort of go-to whenever it comes to that. And I think all in all, and again from the call today and some conversations back and forth, I think that the biggest thing is just actually being prepared and having a plan for it, because it will be infinitely more difficult if it's like 5 o'clock now and I'm like, oh, I haven't eaten since 8 a.m. breakfast and now I'm starving and there's nothing in the cupboard, and you have to actually then think about what am I going to put together that's actually whole foods, that's going to be good quality and beneficial. And I will say this, in line with what you're saying, you get more value for your calories. So for anybody who's like, oh, I'm only get to eat 1,800 calories, I'm going to be so hungry. It's like, I challenge you to eat 1,800 calories of whole foods and hit your protein target. It is a lot of food whenever you put it out and set it out. Or you can just have like a fucking milkshake from Five Guys and it'll probably be 1,800 calories too. So the choice is yours. And yes, to Dave's point one more time, is you can still make progress by consuming not whole foods or ultra processed foods or non-nutrient dense foods, whatever way you want to label it. But the challenge for me this month is I want to see, is the additional effort worth the additional benefits of the other side? And I'm going to say so far so good, in my eyes.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's our 2 cents on whole foods. So did I tell you about ice baths?
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in for this week's episode of Hacking Your Health. No, today's topic, Ben and I discussed on something in
cold water therapy.
Well, we not cold water therapy. I had found this app because Ben and I are very, very big fans of Chris Bumstead, and Chris Bumstead, obviously, 5-time reigning champion, for his IFBB pro card and stuff like that. Just an amazing bodybuilder. He's got one of the best physiques probably since Arnold Schwarzenegger. A little bit bigger.
I'm saying better than Arnold. Saying his physique is better.
Yes, it is. It is better. There's no question. But you have to look at, one, the size is different, right? So they're allowed to be bigger. And 2, the leanness wasn't as important back then. So, Arnold was probably sitting at 9 to 10% body fat, whereas Chris probably gets down to 5 or 4. So it's a different era. It's kind of like comparing Jordan to LeBron, things like that, right? Or Will to somebody else. It's different eras, and we know a lot more about muscle growing, hypertrophy, science, all of that stuff now than we did before. So Arnold's obviously still the GOAT, but Chris's physique is probably one of the best that's out there. And there's a lot of documentation on Chris's workout regimen, and it's obviously different training for a bodybuilder. One thing I've always respected about Chris is that he lifts heavy. You don't see that from a lot of bodybuilders. Bodybuilders will do more volume in nature to obviously grow size of muscle via hypertrophy. They don't focus on the strength aspect of things. And Chris is very different. He loves heavy deadlifts. He loves heavy squats. He does the big movements, the big compound movements. And I've always respected that with him because he is obviously a bodybuilder and also extremely strong in nature. So he looks the part and plays the part, which, for me has always been very important with me to be strong and look strong. So Chris has an app. It's called the CBum app. And Ben and I are just trying this out now, and we've been pretty impressed so far. What's nice about me is it has a timer that keeps me on track. So instead of me spending 3 hours in the gym, I literally spend only an hour now, and it's an hour, and it is a very, very good workout. I was complaining to Ben over the weekend. I was like, whatever spawn of Satan hell this came from for arms day needs to go away because it murdered my arms. And I'm using a different split. I had never had done this split before, so I thought it was kind of neat. It's a chest and back, arms, and then legs day, basically. And then you have a rest, and then you do the same thing. So it's training 6 days a week with 2 breaks in between, basically, kind of mix and matches throughout the week. So workout's been good. It's been some movements that I haven't tried before. Some of them I like, some of them I don't. So I kind of mix and match based off of what I like and how I feel is hitting my muscles. But one of the things that is great in the app, one aside from the programming and the timer, which is most specific for me, so it'll be like, hey, you just did this, now you have this set, is that Chris incorporates a lot of drop sets into the program. And so today is going to be talking about sets and reps and what's really important, because I think even me, at my stage in lifting, I still get confused on whether or not I should be doing lower rep ranges, higher rep ranges, in between, or does it even matter at all? What's our goals and objectives, and what can things like drop sets and supersets and things like that do for us that could be beneficial to maximize our growth and gains? And the reason this actually kind of came up is there was a friend that was on Facebook recently, and he posted, hey, I'm feeling like shit. I kind of want to get back into the workout programs. Where should I start? And, of course, you get all of these people, and I don't mean to say this in a bad way, so please don't take it as I'm being facetious. You have a lot of folks that are unhappy with their own physique giving advice. So they have obviously had a lot of problems on having success there. And that's a lot of what we all struggle with. But they're saying, hey, you should just do calisthenics and you can do everything perfectly fine with calisthenics. And I'm like, if your response is only doing this, it's probably not going to work because it's not only this or only that. There is no 100% solution for anybody out there. One, lifestyle has a big piece of it, experience, where you're at in your life, injuries, ailments, how you eat, sleep. No one talked about, hey, what's your sleep and eating look like? So to say there's absolutes is problematic. And so what we're going to be talking about today is, from an absolute perspective, is it actually imperative that you get 8 reps or 10 reps or 12 reps or 30 reps? And what can we do from a set perspective to optimize our goals? And I mentioned this again from the CBUM app. So I was spending, an hour and a half to 2.5 hours on a regular basis in the gym. And when I did that, I was getting the same type of workout as the hour-long gym, and probably getting more so on the cardiovascular side on the hour-long one than I was on the 2.5-hour one. And so we can maximize our time in the gym to be as effective as if we were there for 2.5 hours. And I think that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, I agree. And in terms of the app, the biggest feature is the same one as having the timer, because again, sessions have been an hour or just under, and it's like, number one, I'll just leave the app sitting open so I can see it, so I'm not like distracted by sending emails or on Twitter or whatever. And even when I am, it'll come up with a notification, and even if I'm not beside it, I get the notification on my watch. I'm like, fuck, right, okay, I'm straight back into it. So the intensity is definitely there because you're forced to, because it has that reminder. So like that in itself to me is worth it, as well as obviously the program. Whenever it comes to cold water therapy, I definitely think not. Whenever it comes to programming, whenever it comes to different types of sets, there are infinite different types of sets that you can do. I think we'll run through them today. I have a few favorites. There is a lot more drop sets than I'm used to doing in the app. I'm doing the push-pull legs split, which essentially is 3 days on, 1 day off in rotation. I find it quite funny that I think my leg workout was like 7 exercises. I was saying that, I was like, easy. But definitely a good workout for sure. And I was definitely walking funny for a couple of days. And I also think just the change in program and the change in stimulus is definitely one that is
that's what you need, right?
Part. Yeah,
you need that difference in workout programs, doing things a little bit different, keeping it fun and exciting. If you're doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to get stuck in this kind of cyclical effect of everything, and it's not going to be as fun for you. And you may not, experience as much growth as if you're doing something else. So always changing things up and trying things different can be really good.
Yeah, and I will say, for anybody who has been paying close attention, and I said I was going to do the full body every other day, I just did not enjoy it one bit. I didn't like the sessions. I didn't look forward to them. It didn't work in terms of doing every other day. So trying this out as something else I think would be beneficial, because I actually look forward to going to the gym again, which is obviously good. And then obviously staying within the hour is beneficial. But in terms of sets, want to just me go, you go? I talk about a set, you talk about a set, and we see where we get to.
Yeah, let's do it. So, let's do it. So let's first caveat with ranges can be important. there's a lot of studies, and Dr. Elaine Norton just recently came out with a video. I'd heavily recommend checking it out.
Is it the one where he calls out all the form feedback?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you, Dr. Elaine Norton, for making that custom video for me about the people that have no idea what they're talking about and critiquing my form. I had one the other day. So the one the other day was I was doing a deadlift, and they said I should never let the bar touch the ground to keep resistance the entire time I deadlift. I'm like, I'm doing 600 effing pounds. There's no way I can keep it on, not on the, like, you, what is going on here? What makes you think you should say that? Like, who should say that? Anyways, so thank you, Dr. Elaine Norton. It was an easy response back because I could just post his stuff, and he's hilarious. But there was a study that came out on both strength and muscle growth, and it really had to do around, one, is A, training to failure absolutely necessary? And two, how do you increase strength? And what they found is that, this is no different than anything we've known before, but you have, two types of fibers in your muscles, short and fast twitch fibers. And the fast twitch fibers are going to be that explosive, quick, type of movement. And really where your strength comes from, right? And those are where a lot of your, slow and fast twitch. I didn't say short. Slow twitch and fast twitch. But these slow twitches are more of your endurance muscles, fast twitch being, more so of, your quick power type of things. And, what they found is that your explosive movements for lower rep ranges for heavier weights absolutely increase your strength much faster than, doing more of the longer rep ranges. Now, your short twitch fibers, your slow twitch, not short twitch. I keep saying that, slow twitch fibers. Your slow twitch fibers are the ones that respond to growth and size in most cases. So those are the ones that are going to give you the big muscles. So you want to train both. But if you want to go up in strength, you typically want to stay in lower rep ranges for higher strength. And so you have to lift heavy stuff to get stronger. Makes sense, right? If you want more endurance, i.e. muscles that can last a longer time, the volume and size of those muscles need to grow in order to maintain longer distances and performance. So therefore, larger rep ranges tend to increase the size of your muscles. So, for me, I always start off usually with a couple warm-up sets just to get the muscles flowing. I've learned that warm-up sets are very important for me, or else I will, pull my back out doing a 200-pound deadlift versus, what I normally can pull. And so warming up is extremely critical. Second, when I get my warm-up sets, I'm going to typically be at my strongest period or point at this given time, right? So my muscles aren't fatigued yet. I haven't gone through an extraneous workout. I'm probably recovered from the previous days. So therefore, I go heavy. I go as heavy as I possibly can. And I try to lift in the 3 to 5 rep range for the type of training I'm doing to increase my strength size. And I will do usually, 2 or 3 sets of those. And then we incorporate what's called a drop set. Now, a drop set is going to be, there's a couple ways of running it, but a drop set is going to be lower weight volume. So if I've already done 3 sets of my max and I'm at the peak, I'm not going to be able to pull more weight at that level. But my muscles are still in an active mode and they're still, fatigued and tired, but they're not exhausted yet. And so a lot of times, especially in the CBum app too, it'll incorporate 2 or 3 drop sets in that specific weight. So you're basically lowering it by 30% is the general average. So you lower the weight by 30% and you knock out as many reps as possible or AMRAP. Then you drop 30% again and you do that again. And you drop 30% again and you do that. Towards the end of your workout periods, the drop sets can have a really big impact on, squeezing the last amount of glycogen out of your muscle stores and really getting you kind of that fatigue state. Now, there's some good data to show that you don't always want to go to failure. We've always been taught go to failure. What they've shown from a lot of the research is that if you go to failure every time, it's much harder for you to recover. And the percentage of growth of your muscles in that failure state is not substantial enough to off-weigh the recovery time. Meaning, if you are just absolutely murdering yourself at the gym, which we should do, but to a point to where you're hitting muscle failure across the board, it will take your muscles longer to recover. Therefore, by the time you hit your next set, especially if you're doing 6 times a week, that's going to be problematic. So if you're only doing, 3 lifts a week, you're doing full body exercises, going to failure for one specific muscle group per period of time is probably not going to be a bad thing. But when you're training multiple times, especially if you're training, 6 times a week like I am, you're going to need that break in between and that recovery period. And so if you're going to failure every time, you're not going to be fully recovered. And this is when injuries happen, or you don't get the growth that you'd want to. If you're training a muscle that isn't properly recovered, it's probably not going to hit the level of stride or growth that you want it to do. So for me, when what I usually start off with, again, heavy, I usually do 2 warm-up sets, 3 working sets, 2 drop sets, and then from there I move on to kind of burning out the rest of those muscles and splitting them the way that I need to.
Yeah, and the drop set for me has been a great addition because, like I said, it's not something that I have utilized a lot in the past, and it definitely pushes you that little bit further. The next one that I do use quite frequently whenever it comes to programming is superset. So essentially a superset or a triset or a giant set, whatever you want to put it. Superset's 2 exercises back to back. Triset would be 3, a giant set would be 4. And basically what you do is you just pair or put together. Is that good? Yeah, good.
It's very good.
Yeah, good.
So keep talking. So I'm eating my Subway right now, my whole food.
Yeah, you eating the whole thing. Yeah, so superset is basically you pair off the exercises. A couple of ways to do it. Number one, you can pair off exercises that do the same muscle group. So like you said, with the drop sets, just to fatigue the muscle a little bit more. One thing that I, especially right at the start, try and utilize as much as possible is pairing off like a push and pull exercise, like opposite exercises almost, or an upper body or a lower body exercise. And what that, I think the term for that is German body composition training. And what that allows muscle to do, or why it brings so much intensity, is if you imagine you're training an upper body exercise and all the blood is flowing around the muscle, and then all of a sudden you're training lower body exercise, there's actually an increase in calories burned overall and an overall output from the work you're doing. So essentially what you will do is, say for example, we were doing a bench press superset with a squat. You would do 10 reps at your bench press straight in, literally stand up and go to the squat rack. I mean, I put 0 seconds rest, but it's literally the time that it takes you to get from one thing to the other thing. And then go in and do the second exercise, squat, for example, do your 10 reps, and then you take 60 seconds rest or whatever the allocated rest period is. But yeah, I use supersets quite a lot.
Yeah, and one of the things that you'd mentioned, the supersetting, for me, when I'm doing, let's just say the split with C-Bum, I'm doing chest and back. So, my first 2 exercises are typically not going to be supersets because I'm trying to maximize strength. So, I'll do, let's just say if I'm doing back and chest, I'm going to start off with a, heavy chest press, and then I may do, rack pulls. They're going to be heavy intensity, heavy weights, and I won't superset those because I need the blood flow as much as possible for those individual areas, and my focus on those to be fully recovered to be able to do that. Now, one thing he does in these programs that I like and that Ben has always done is when you look at programming, you think it's just easy. It's back and bis, chest and tris, legs, whatever, right? Whatever your split is, the bro splits, whatever it ends up being. What most people don't recognize is that, so if you're doing a split like this and it's 6 times a week, you're hitting the muscle groups twice a week, which is ideal. Okay. But there are days where you want to flip the amount of intensity you do for each one. Remember, I talked about muscle fatigue and failure. So for the chest and back exercises that I start, let's just say today I have a chest and back exercise I have to do. When I do those, my predominant focus today is going to be overloading chest with some back. Okay. Now don't get me wrong, back's still going to be intense, but it's not going to be as intense. And then I'll do Tuesday, Wednesday. So Tuesday will be arms with a heavy shoulder focus. And then Friday's going to be legs with a heavy, Wednesday's going to be heavy legs with a quad focus. Thursday is going to be a break. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Friday, my chest and back is going to be a heavy focus on heavy back, less of a focus on chest. So I flipped those. I'm still hitting the muscle groups, but I'm not burning them out as much. And I'm giving that ability to recover a little bit better for each muscle group that I burned out. So then then Saturday, my shoulders will be less of a focus and be more of a focus on biceps and triceps. And then Sunday, my focus will be more so on the glutes and hammies with some, quadricep focus as well. So it's kind of flipping the programming a bit in each way to allow those muscle groups to not have to endure as much strain and let the recovery process happen, muscle growth and everything we're going to do there. So I love how those are mixed and matched.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest thing from that is it's almost like allowing it to recover in one sense. So for example, if you do the chest exercises are for strength this time, right, then the chest exercises you do next time are going to be more overall volume and for hypertrophy. So you still have time to recover from the strength, but you don't have to wait like a whole entire week to actually train your chest again and have that incorporated. And again, allows you to do more total volume or total work on that muscle group across the week and then across the months and across the year. So big fan of that also. Something else that I'm a big fan of is rest pause sets. So essentially what a rest pause set is, or the way that I would program would be, for example, leg press. I'm a big fan of a rest pause on the leg press. You would program leg press, one set of 20 reps, rest pause. And what the idea behind that is, essentially the goal is to lift a relatively heavy weight. So something you can maybe do 10 to 15 reps for. And the goal is to get to 20 reps and take little breaks in between. So for example, if you do 12 reps and then you take 10 to 15 seconds, and then you do 5 reps and then you take 10 to 15 seconds, and then you do 3 reps to hit the 20 reps. So the goal is to get 20 reps total, and you have the allowance of obviously doing the shorter breaks in between. Good for hypertrophy, good for building strength. And essentially the short break in between just allows you to get your shit together basically and go again. So you push that little bit past, where if it was just a normal set and you did, for the rep range was 8 to 12 and you did 12, you would just finish the set there, whereas you do an additional 8 reps by including those shorter breaks within. Absolutely fucking brutal. And I will always program it for like hack squat or pendulum squat or some other sort of held device.
You like pain, I understand. Dude, I mean, hack squats and pendulum squats just in general are the most evil thing that has ever been created. Pendulum squats being... So I had a pendulum squat and I gave it away to Travis.
Travis was doing some programming over the weekend, and obviously he's doing programming for me on Tree Coach. So some of the stuff, like, it'll like auto generate based on stuff that he's typing. So something, he must have been typing something and something come up, and he just sent me a photo. He was like, "Who hurt you when you programmed this?"
Dude, that pendulum squat, it was like phenomenal piece of equipment. However, like, it was 100% an ego thing for me. Like, I'm putting 25-pound plates on it and I'm crying like a bitch as I'm doing it. Like, I'm like, I don't feel like I'm doing anything here. Like what's my point in life when I'm only doing 25-pound plates? I'm doing this. So I had to get rid of it. Just because I was feeling like such a bitch.
Well, the impromptu Ohio meet at Travis's gym this weekend. I would imagine some people will feel the pain of that pendulum squat this weekend.
Not me. I'll be there watching, but I'm not doing the pendulum squat.
Putting a 25-pound plate on, trying to pick people off the ground faster.
No, it's a humbling one. But this week for legs I did a combination of. So I really, really, really like the Smith machine. I mean, it's just my favorite piece of equipment, to be honest. I mean, it gets shit. And listen, I'm not going to competitions. I'm not trying to, beat somebody on a squat or deadlift. And I still squat and I still deadlift, of course. But I would tell you the range of motion with, elevated heel squats on the Smith machine, there's no other workout like that. I mean, the stability, the quad focus, the removing the back as an issue, and obviously the safety of it, all of those combined make it one of the best types of exercises I think you could possibly do on the actual Smith machine, or even for your quads. So, just having a little bit of an elevated heel, you can use plates for that, putting 2 plates on the ground, and you basically, can either do narrow stance or wide stance on these. It just depends on kind of what your goals are. It doesn't matter either way. When I'm doing more towards like my burnouts, I can easily go up and down faster with narrow stance, so my feet pretty much close together. Whereas when I'm doing super heavy, I'll typically do a much wider stance and then use those for more strength and stability as I'm going through. But my favorite workout period to kill my quads is that Smith machine elevated heel, which you introduced me to. I think was my first training block that you ever gave me. Was with those, and you haven't looked back since.
My favorite quad exercise is bicep curls.
I was like, I can get away with that. I like that.
I'll just swap the sides. It's a good swap. I don't want to do this quad exercise. I'll just train biceps.
Well, I would say, what's your top 3 quad exercises? So for me, number 1 is going to be that Smith machine elevated heel. Number 2 is going to be the leg extension machine, and number 3 is going to be hack squats for me.
I'm saying split squats, leg extension, also hack squat.
Yeah. Okay.
Depending on the hack squat, like I'd be very specific with the hack squat. But
so hack squats, what Ben is referencing is every hack squat is different based on elevation and range of motion. And I've had a lot of really bad ones that are like really harsh in the knees and don't give you that isolation. The one that I really like, and I'm cautioning you if you order this, it's heavy as hell, so you may die getting it into your location. But the Fettle Fitness, Fettle Fettle, relatively reasonably priced, and is one of my favorite hack squat / leg press machines. That one there has probably the best range of motion, and you've been on it, Ben. I mean, it's probably the best feeling hack squat that I've ever had.
Yeah. I think it's a tough one because there's a lot of things you need to take into consideration. So obviously, I mean, if you're in a gym, you have to use the one that's there. But obviously, I mean, you've tried them all out now. So if I ever do need to get one, I'll just get the same one that you've got because you've been through them all. But also the setup in it, do you know what I mean? Like, it takes a while to find the setup, where foot placement. Can you adjust the base to be at a slightly different angle? What's the goal of the exercise? Like, there's endless things to think about within that. But yes, definitely hack squats for the win all day long. Another absolutely brutal exercise. And I would say, to go beyond that, if you can, and maybe this is going to cause confusion, but I'll say it anyway, if you can reverse band the thing, it is much better. So essentially with reverse banding, what you're doing is, as it gets more difficult and as you get weaker, whenever you get lower into the movement, the bands will take a little bit of that pressure off, which means it will suck slightly less at the bottom, but it will suck infinitely more on the way back up, because once the resistance starts to come up and you start to gain your strength back, it will get infinitely heavier because you're losing the resistance for the band. So if you can get that in, a huge win for that, for sure.
So with the Fettle, it has the ability to do bands at the bottom, and I always have bands loaded up on it no matter what. So I don't even take that into consideration. It's just always on, which is good.
Which is good, because I remember trying to band it whenever I used to be in the gym. Like, it's a shit show having to put the bands on, especially if you're with a client. You're like, hold on, just give me 5 minutes while I try to rescue, like, foot against the thing, like trying to stretch the band in. But yes, definitely that would be it. Are we doing favorite exercises for each thing now, or what are we doing? We're going back to sets.
Good, yeah. So what's your ones for glutes and hammies?
Hamstrings, RDL all day
thrusters,
long.
Thrusters.
No, hamstrings.
You don't see thrusters?
No. I would actually say maybe not in this order, but definitely RDLs. Back extension, a lion hamstring curl.
So mine's going to be deadlift, number 1, period, of course. 2 RDLs, and then third is going to be the leg curl, right?
Yes, lion leg curl for the win as well. Just infinitely better setup.
There's some research on that.
Yes, I know the research, but I like lion hamstring curl.
But I will be honest with you, I prefer, from a comfortability perspective, and where I feel like it's isolated, I prefer laying down leg curl.
I'm yet to find a seated hamstring curl that I know the setup, that I'm happy with the setup. But there's many lion hamstring curls that I found that it's like the one in Helmy Sim and the one in Jim Duck, both of them fantastic pieces of equipment.
So, and what I'm referencing is there's research that shows that you have higher hypertrophy growth with the sitting down leg curl versus the laying down leg curl. However, again, I mean, whatever. I mean, if it's 5%, is it really worth it when you're getting better range of motion on something like a laying down one? So it's all what you prefer on those fronts. But so definitely deadlift, then RDLs. And it's funny because I would never have thought I'd be an RDL person. I never really saw the value of them until I really understood the movement, which is the stretch part, right? And it's, as you're going down and getting into that, you're kind of keeping your legs fairly straight and locked. And as you're coming down, it's almost like you're stretching to touch your toes, and then you're pulling back up. And even with lower weights, it wrecks, your glutes and hammies, pretty quickly, most specifically hammies. But it's a phenomenal workout for those, for sure. Absolutely. One of my top 2.
Agree. Triceps.
What about triceps? Okay. So for me, the Preacher Curl Tricep Extension Machine is my favorite.
Okay.
So you put your armpits under the thing and it basically comes down. I have found that to be one of the best workouts for my triceps for muscle isolation. By far, the one that you taught me, which is the crucifix one, the crossover cables,
one. Yeah.
Crossbody ones is an amazing one. So you basically take the ropes and the pulleys and the ropes, and you cross your arms and you kind of come down this way. Really good range of motion. It's kind of keeping them, your elbows close to chest, and as you go through. So
I'm just laughing. You're saying come down this way, and there's only 40 people who will ever watch it, and everybody else is listening. They're like, what the fuck's he talking about? For me, with triceps, definitely the cable crossbody ones. I would say any tricep movement that you're doing on a cable, spend a little bit of time learning the setup that's good for you, because the height will play a big part. The angle that the cable is coming out, like if you can try and match that in line with your arm whenever it's your triceps in the fully contracted position, you're going to get an infinitely better contraction through it. So the reason that I like the crossbody one is because you can set it up, if you stand back slightly, you can set it up with basically that cross like right in front of you, and then if your arms will obviously be in line with how the cables are going, and that's why you get such a good contraction. Other one that I like, go ahead.
Wait, I didn't say my third though. Really quick, my third one is the overhead tricep extension with a rope. Yeah,
nice, good, yeah. So yes, for me, the cable cross ones, something I've reintroduced recently, dips, which controversy could be a couple of other body part exercise, but mainly for triceps. And I think a big fan now that I've started to reintroduce them. And also narrow grip chest press on the Smith machine, good for triceps. And I think that they're often overlooked because
they are.
It's
people think it's totally chest.
Yeah, but also like it's like doing a compound exercise for a small muscle group. Like it's a bit of a contradiction within it. So.
It's simulating pretty much the same thing as a skull crusher.
Yes, skull crusher is dangerous, bad for shoulders. Would not recommend.
Yeah. I don't do skull crushers. I prefer the close grip Smith machine presses on that one.
Yeah,
so
agree.
Yeah. Biceps.
I'm saying cable bicep curls. So cable machine behind you, well. And then essentially like almost tuck your elbows behind you.
Even incorporating something like a seated to that as well.
Yeah.
Remove back can be an additional modification to that.
Agree. And also single arm dumbbell preacher curls. So having the back part of the bench, having it sort of almost tucked into your armpit again to take out any mobility.
Better isolation for the bicep.
Yeah.
Hammer curls my third.
Yeah, hammer curls for sure. Actually, one thing I've been programming a lot lately since we did the Belfast event is the mechanical drop sets that Helmy took us through, which is actually probably a good topic to talk about that we're given the topic of today's podcast. But mechanical drop sets, essentially what a mechanical drop set will force you to do is work your muscle through the entire range, through where it's weakest to where it's strongest through time. So the way I would set it up on a hammer curl would be you would start with the bench at like 60 degrees and do almost like lying back hammer curls, put the bench up to like 80 and do them a little bit more upright and do 8 reps, and then do standing and do 8 reps, and you do like 6 sets of that back to back. If you need something that will give you I maybe haven't shared that with you actually because you weren't in Belfast. If you need something that gives your biceps a pump, that is the thing that will do it. And people are like, what the fuck is this hell that you're giving me? I was like, you can blame Helmy for that one. So yeah, mechanical drop sets, just a slightly different way to think about a drop set. But basically it's not about dropping the weight. It's about dropping through where you get weaker as you go through it.
Yeah, like so something like a 21 would be kind of a mechanical.
Ish. Yes. Yeah. But yes. Similar.
So 21s are nice. I like those. Basically bicep curls, you can use, a bar, easy curl bar or whatever. And you do like basically a bicep curl, but it's half. So only coming up halfway. Do 7 of those. Then you do 7 just from your half point all the way up. And then you do full 7 bicep curls. So it's 21s, kind of gives you, a range of motion in each one, kind of fatiguing the muscles. And I actually like those, like even going lighter weights as my burnout sets. I'll throw like 20s, 25s on. And then I'll do those until I can't do anymore. So, I might only get to 18 or I might get to 43, who knows, but I'm just going until they just like they're ripped, and it gives you a massive pump.
Yeah, agree. Another set type that we haven't talked about again that I'm a big fan of is a cluster set. So essentially with a cluster set, you want to do 6 sets of 4 reps back to back with like a 15 to 20 second rest in between. So say for example bicep curls, so you do 4 reps 15 seconds, 4 reps 15 seconds, and you repeat that 6 times. Again, similar with the rest pause set, you want to pick a relatively heavy weight that you normally can only do like 12 to 15 reps. And the goal with that is obviously it's going to take you past the point. Some quick maths will lead me to believe that is 24 total reps. Is it? I don't know. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong. Of the exercise, given that sort of 15-second rest in between. Again, the goal with it is to get to like, maybe 4 sets of 4, and then you get 3, and then you get 2, and then your progressive overload is to get 4 sets of 4, and then you up the weight. But a really effective exercise as well. are a really effective set range as well, which is good. Would recommend.
Okay, so chest.
Oh, definitely incline dumbbells.
Yes, incline everything. By the way,
Incline dumbbells, incline Smith machine bench press, and
yep.
I'm gonna say cuffed cable chest fly.
Okay. So mine's going to be incline chest press by far. Anything incline, when you're starting off, building up your upper chest is the most important to get that definition and separation. I don't recommend doing regular bench presses or decline or anything. Again, it's all I'm not saying you have to do it this way. I'm just saying if you want to have a big looking chest, your upper chest is what you want to most develop. So incline chest press by far. Incline chest flies it would be my second. And then I would say pec deck is going to be my third for sure. Yep.
Yeah, I definitely prefer the cuffed cables over pec deck. I mean, pec deck much easier to set up.
I think
you
it
don't
depends
have to...
on the pec deck.
Yeah,
there's some pec decks where like you can't change the starting point. Yeah. So it almost starts off in a bad position that can, either tear your shoulders or is not very comfortable.
Yeah.
Ones that start off a little bit more forward that allow you to do the full range of motion, but not tear and, not strain that muscle as it's coming back. I think you can get some really good ones. And then ones that have adjustable. So you could do like incline, pec deck, flies. Those are awesome. So yeah, I think they're all good. But yes, the cuffs are amazing because I think you can, you're taking away the hand motion of it and you're really allowing yourself to come really close and get that full stretch of the muscle.
Yeah, well, the thing about it is that both those things, you take out the thought of I'm actually holding on to this thing, so that's one less thing to think about, but also you bring the cable closer to the shoulder joint, so you get a slightly better contraction because it's closer and there's less of a lever through it. I actually did the video that Ryan and I shot last week in the gym, the push session. He pulled a short from it on the setup for cable chest flies. I'll post it today. Well, today as in tomorrow, whenever I post it, so everybody's like, where the fuck is it? I'll post it on Tuesday across all socials because it could be beneficial as to know how to set it up for what part of your chest and things like that.
Yep. And then what else do we got? What did I miss?
Calves. What's your favorite calf exercise?
I mean, anything that is not going to grow my calves is going to be my favorite. So
my favorite calf exercise is flying the turkey and getting the implants.
Yeah.
That's a joke, by the way.
Yeah. The standing calf races I think are probably my favorite just from a convenience perspective. And I feel like I can do really good range of motion on the calves that way versus seated. There is some good data to show that seated is better from a muscle growth perspective. But again, it's all your personal preference. I actually have a new calf machine coming. It's a hammer strength, by the way. Used hammer strength calf machine.
Just took you 50 minutes to find that information.
No, I found it like shortly after we started the podcast. Thank you very much. It was in a different email box, but it's a seated one, which is good. But I definitely need a dedicated machine, and that's another good topic to hit on that Ben will always typically program, which I like. Is there's a lot of exercises that you just don't really do or like because it's like at the end you're already tired or whatever. So you shrugs, for example, for your traps, or calf raises or adductor abductors. Ben usually likes to program those at the very beginning of the programming so that you get those out of the way and then you can really focus on kind of your main muscle groups as you go through. So hitting the ancillary ones that you need to so that you don't skip them at the very end of a specific one, which I will typically do. So I have programmed all my stuff at the beginning, get my stuff knocked out that I don't want to do, and then I will never skip out on my main exercise movement. So
good. Back.
Back, yes. By far, rack pulls, number one. Ever since you introduced me to those, it has strengthened my lower back beyond comparison, which shot my deadlifts up.
One thing that I have been introduced to through that app is the snatch grip rack pulls, and would highly recommend. So essentially you go like a super wide grip. Now you're not pulling the same weight that you are as a regular grip. But see, for like upper back, like I was in a different world of pain after those, so would highly recommend doing those.
Lat rows are going to be probably my second favorite by far, and then wide grip overhead pull downs.
Okay.
So the back pull downs.
Okay.
So that's what it's called. Right? Anyways.
Yes.
Lat pull down.
Yes, lat pull down. Yep.
So wide grip. I prefer wide grip versus neutral. I just feel like I get a better range of motion on the upper back, and then when I'm doing lat rows, I have a lat row machine from Techno Gym. If you ever find one of those Techno Gym machines, you can get it used or see it at a gym. Those things are just disgusting on ripping through your back. So I do like run the rack and drop sets with those, and it just murders my lats. I've had the most amount of lat progress, both strength wise and size wise, with those machines than anything else. I mean, it's just literally it's just a row, but it's so you don't have to be a Techno Gym, but anything that's going to be chest supported row is going to be superior to any other exercise that's out there, because you're taking out of the equation any other muscle groups as you're going through. So you're really relying on one, if your chest is forward and you're stretching all the way forward here, you have the full range of motion of your lats. And as you're coming back, you're using the chest supported to give you, to take your kind of chest out of the equation and shoulders and everything else. And you're really just focusing on that extension of that muscle group within your lats. So heavily recommend any type of chest supported movement with those. Those are going to be your by far your best.
Yeah, for me, T-bar row, and if you can do that chest supported, yes, absolutely, please do. I like the
T-bar row is really good. I do like T-bar row.
Yeah, I like the single arm prone lat pull down, so setting the bench up and just doing them single arm like in line.
Yeah,
and then rack pull, obviously, of course, no brainer. Shoulders is the last one.
Shoulders, lat raises by far. I mean, lat raises are my go-to from just burning out the muscle groups. I love lat raises, lat and frontals. Two of my most favorite ones, especially in the lower weight size. You just do more in volume. Overhead military press with the Smith machine is going to be up there by far, and then log presses as well, using the logs, neutral grip log presses.
Nice, good. Definitely lat raises for me as well. And I will say, for the longest time, it was definitely cable lat raises. But I want to just say that while cable lat raises may be optimal, sometimes dumbbell lat raises are just practical. And I've definitely been doing more dumbbell raises. And I think if you can replicate the movement and you can get the same benefit throughout, then the less faffing about of setting up is definitely beneficial. But I know there are obviously benefits to it, but we'll just go lat raises as a whole. Definitely shoulder press on the Smith machine. And I'm going to say rear delt on the pec deck, because it's still part of your shoulder, and we cannot forget about those.
No, I do rear delt, with the pec deck reverse.
Or cable fly, because I like getting the setup and like giving it this one.
Yes, the cable fly. Actually, that became one of my favorites to use for rear delts, especially if you do cross body. Mm-hmm. You kind of come back, really good range of motion there. So, and then we got to talk about traps.
Traps is not something I train. I just sort of train it as a byproduct of everything else.
See, I do shrugs.
I don't know.
But they do say the trap bar is phenomenal for traps.
Like trap bar shrugs?
Neutral grip. Yeah, and doing shrugs with the trap bar. Yep.
Just good.
Yeah. Just like this.
I don't know.
Just like
this. I don't know. Right.
So, anyways.
We got more than you bargained for today. I hadn't planned on going through that, but now everybody knows our favorite exercises.
It's a packed episode. Probably one of the most packed episodes we've ever done.
Probably. So, thanks for listening.
Incorporate drop sets. Heavily recommend those. Incorporate.
I'm going to say favorite type of set is a cluster set, if you want to take that piece of information with you as well.
Okay. Yeah. I like supersets.
What's your favorite superset?
Man, probably I would say squats and bicep curls are my two favorite supersets.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening.
I feel like I'm getting the, because you look at the front of your body, and when you're doing squats, your legs are pumping, your quads are pumping, and your biceps are pumping. So you just look monstrous. You look like this freak of nature for like 30 seconds until the pump goes away. But, it's an amazing feel as you're going to do that, right?
I actually got speaking of the pump, I got something that arrived today that I will share with you. I'll send you a photo just after this. In terms of the pump, was recommended both by Helmy and Matt in a non-related conversation. So we'll take that all day long.
We'll check it out. Heck yeah. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in for this week's podcast. Another good one, loaded with a lot of packed information. Tune in next week, same time, same place. This will be released tomorrow. So this is like literally as fresh as it gets. So welcome everybody, and we'll catch you again next week. Later.
See you next week.